Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Wytpod. My name is Harshit, and I'm the Director of Business Alliances at Wytlabs. We are a digital agency specializing in SaaS and e-commerce SEO. I've got Matt Williamson with me today. He's the co-founder and CEO at Vizzly, now, which is it's basically a brilliant customer-facing analytics for modern SaaS. Big welcome to you, Matt. So happy to have you with me today.
Thank you, Harshit. Thank you for the invite.
And buddy, can you please tell us about your background and what led you to start Vizzly?
Sure. So yeah, for those that don't know, my name is Matt Williamson. I'm the co-founder and CEO here at Vizzly. We do customer-facing analytics for SaaS platforms. We've been around now for just over 2 years, and we serve over 50 B2B SaaS companies powering the analytics and reporting in their front-end applications, offering an end-to-end solution. Prior to Vizzly, I was head of business development at a company called Duffel, which was a flights and payments API with developer experience at the core. And before that, I looked after data products at a company called Skyscanner. So building data APIs and SaaS analytics tooling and reporting products for our B2B customers. It was really during that experience, to be honest, where the idea for Vizzly was initially formed. How do you help B2B SaaS companies build good data products that they can share with external parties? I think what you find a lot of the time, at least what was quite apparent when I was at Skyscanner, was you get a lot of internal BI tools that offer embedding through iframes or white label services. That again, that's fine to get to market quickly, but you do get quickly frustrated at the same time with the inability to speak to the content of that dashboard with the code. There is a distinct lack of extensibility. There's no longevity in that solution as a consequence. And ultimately, what my co-founder and I understood at Duffel is just how important developer experience is and any sort of customer-facing component, because there is so much nuance that exists from customer to customer in any customer-facing environment. And so we wanted to build something sure to maintain the same time to market as these traditional BI solutions do, but we also wanted to equip the customer and the developer in that relationship with tools to build with freedom, where they're not necessarily limited or constrained by anything other than their imagination.
Gotcha. And Matt, before we dive into all the good things you do at Wesley, I would love to understand, because you're working in a full-time job, right? What was the trigger? What basically gave you the kick to go ahead and co-found this company? Transition from basically a job to a business of your own.
Yeah, I think it's something that my co-founder and I, James, we always wanted to do. But I think instead of chasing a solution, obviously you must lead with the problem. And I think once we had enough confidence around the problem that we wanted to solve for, enough confidence and conviction around that problem, we were able to take that leap into full-time entrepreneurship. But yeah, of course, it's always been something that my co-founder and I have always been keen to do full-time and dive deep into. But it's, I guess, also for some people, maybe they feel like they need a little bit more experience, a bit more time. I was certainly one of those people. Skyscanner gave me so much from an experiential point of view, as did Duffel, working across product and commercial functions. And I'm sure James felt the same way during his experience at Duffel and the BBC. And just gives you sufficient confidence where you feel like you can take that initial leap. I will say, and caveat though, that you can have as much experience in the world and it will not equip you for entrepreneurship, foundership. There's always going to be a curveball thrown at some point that you're just going to have to learn in the job. But yeah, it's something that, just to summarize, something that we've always wanted to do and something that we've always foreseen doing.
Gotcha. And with respect to are you currently bootstrapped or you have raised some funding? What's the current status?
We are not bootstrapped. We are backed and funded by Y Combinator and a series of high-profile angel investors. We went through the summer of 22 cohort at YC and have been building and growing since. We never raised too much capital. We just raised what we needed. We were generating revenue at the point where we raised initial funds. And so we had enough conviction, or at least enough confidence, that we could try to do this, or at least try to fund the next stage of growth through revenue and not just external capital. And that's what we've been doing since. We've been growing pretty consistently, pretty steadily over the last 12 months. And every move we make, every investment we've made over the last 12 months has been very much driven from revenue as opposed to external capital.
Brilliant, buddy. All right, let's talk about some of the unique value propositions. What sets Vizzly apart from the competitors out there in the market?
Yeah, so I think I've already alluded to it slightly, but if you look at like the BI space is like so competitive and it's like hyper saturated. There are so many BI solutions. Everyone has a different flavor or take on how BI should be done. And we had a pretty preset idea that we wanted to focus on the customer facing component, the customer facing application. Seemed to be an afterthought. It still seems to be an afterthought for every single internal BI solution. And to name some names, you Power BI, Tableau, Looker, Metabase. And yeah, surely offer embedding, but it's an afterthought. We wanted to make that our only thought. And so where we see in differentiation is, of course, on things like developer experience. For example, you can embed Vizzly natively using React or natively through any other flavor of JS, right? And that opens up lots of doors. But also we have a very powerful API for those who want to build programmatically. You can manage the state of the Vizzly dashboard with code. You can speak to the Vizzly dashboard with code to do things like filter it programmatically. We have callback functions for creating like these kind of custom click events, user interactions. You can inject and insert custom components. And there's so much you can do on top of the Vizzly dashboard. From a developer perspective, it's a real joy to use. Of course, though, to get Vizzly live and set up, at least initially, we do offer no-code solutions as well. So it's trying to find the perfect balance between no-code and pro-code. How do we get someone to market really quickly, but at the same time, equip them with tools where they are confident in the longevity of the implementation, where they can take it off in any direction they want based on requirements expressed from their own user base. And summation of that is developer experience. The other part of how we differentiate is we have a very powerful custom reporting capability, which means that if our customer wants, they can set up Vizzly so that it's end user configurable. And the end user can do things like edit views on the dashboard. They can build their own views, or they can select a list of pre-configured views, like the experience in Stripe, Zendesk, HubSpot. Again, really trying to help the everyday B2B SaaS company build these amazing reporting experiences in these top other SaaS platforms like Zendesk and HubSpot, for example.
Yeah. Okay, might help me understand your ICP better. I understand it's B2B SaaS, but are you going like more micro niche? Any specific set of group that you are targeting within that broad niche?
I think that's definitely it's always been a big conversation. We're a horizontal SaaS platform. How do you narrow down the audience to give yourself more focus? And so, yeah, we acknowledge we are a horizontal SaaS platform. We serve companies in payments, HR tech, sales tech, MarTech, health tech, you name it. We have customers in almost every vertical within SaaS. And so that does make things complex as far as go-to-market is concerned as well. But a big part of Vizzly is building a hyper-flexible platform. And so we're able to serve various different verticals. It doesn't really become too much of a problem from a product perspective, because it's not the analytics and reporting requirements for a HR platform are entirely different to that of a sales platform. It just makes go-to-market and how you speak and communicate externally a little bit harder. But of course, that's a problem that we still need to resolve. We still need to work through and try to be effective in.
Yeah, it's a big, very broad niche. And definitely, if I pick a simple example, just creating content for so many verticals itself is a mammoth of tasks, right? So I understand. But if you're seeing of it differently, why stop targeting them? So that makes sense. All right. I would love to understand with respect to your own content marketing, what specific strategies have been like really helping you out with when it comes to mainly customer acquisition bit.
Yeah. So one thing, we're a pretty like lean company. And so it really helps us to focus on low funnel or lower funnel activity. So we want people that are searching for the solution. They already know they have a problem, and they're in like comparison mode which means there's high purchase intent. And so we've spent a fair bit of time building out things like competitor pages. For example, if you go on our website, vizzly.co, you'll see a bunch of competitor pages with the content around each one. We spent a bit of time also talking about the specifics with regards to how Vizzly is fundamentally different. Again, probably sound like a broken record, but developer experience, fantastic customer reporting experience should our customers want to engage at that level. And so low funnel activity has been pretty good to us. Of course, as we start to maybe saturate that part of the funnel for content, maybe we move up mid funnel, upper funnel. As we start to also become a bit more bandwidth, maybe frees up a little bit as well. We can maybe afford to bring in a dedicated content marketer to help and assist with that. But for now, I was very much focused on that kind of low funnel, low hanging fruit activity.
Gotcha. And I understand because it's not very long since you launched Vizzly in the market back in 2022. So I understand it's an early stage, but would love to hear some of the biggest challenges that you've faced in your journey so far when it comes to your marketing, right? And any of the challenges that if you have overcome, please, if you can highlight those.
In terms of marketing specifically, I think there's obviously a couple of things, right? Like SEO takes time. We're at the start of our journey in that regard. We're maybe starting to reap some of the benefits of it now. Web traffic is increased quite substantially over the last few months, for example, but that's taken a long time to get there. And so it's what do you do in the interim as you build out your SEO presence? And so we spent a lot of time building out and engaging in sales automation across email and LinkedIn, for example. That's a really healthy channel for us. We keep the copy human. We don't over-engineer the sequences. We just keep it, I suppose, fairly direct, but also fairly light. And that, yeah, we spent a fair bit of time generating leads and customers from sales automation as we build out the kind of content and strategy in the SEO presence. But it's just patience. I think a lot of whether it's marketing or building product or building sales process and revenue, a lot of this is just patience. I think people don't often recognize how long this can take. It can 12 months, 24 months for things to work. And a lot of the time it's just persisting through that kind of painful period of I'm doing stuff, but nothing's happening. And just continuing to persist. And then eventually the rewards will be reaped. But you kind of have to acknowledge that there is like a period of maybe limbo that you just have to work through and confidence that something will happen in the near to medium term.
I agree, and especially the also understanding your target market. A B2B space is tough to crack. It takes time for sure. So, yeah. Anything specific with respect to your customer retention side of things that you're doing?
Yeah, that's a really interesting one for us. So as Vizzly is integrated into our customers' application, our customers' customer-facing application.
Yeah.
So naturally, it's pretty sticky. Now, like our problems more lie around, let's say, for example, we start speaking to mid-market or enterprise prospects and building trust because we will be in the middle of a customer-facing application. But once we're in, and as long as our customers are happy with the experience, they will stay. And we don't have too many issues around retention for that reason. We believe in the product massively in terms of value brings the experience differential versus market alternatives is superior. So for us, it's actually more about as we move up market, building trust with those larger players so that they, again, feel comfortable with us integrating into those customer-facing environments, knowing that retention, like we're here for the long term. When we pitch, we're not looking for a quick buck. We're looking for a long-term partnership because we know that retention naturally is going to be high because that is the intention of our customer coming into the partnership, that they don't want to have this conversation again with another provider in 12, 24 months time. They just want this conversation once, they want to do this implementation once, and they want to leave it there. And for us, that's led to a really healthy retention metric, but that's not really the kind of core to our problems at the moment.
Okay, that's brilliant. Any specific upcoming features or new innovations happening at Vizzly or anything that you're particularly excited about?
Yeah, there's a bunch of stuff. So like some few things that we've recently launched, for example, JS services package. So people can, obviously you can do all this stuff through the no code editor that we provide, but you can now create, manage and delete dashboards programmatically. We have a plugin API now, so you can insert custom visualizations into the dashboard component. Let's say, for example, we provide a bunch of different chart types, bunch of different view types, but maybe there's a niche visualization or something along those lines specific to your industry, you can inject that into the Vizzly dashboard, and it will be a kind of a native part of the dashboard component. We're the only embedded analytics provider in market that offers that level of extensibility. So there's a couple of things we built, we've launched already, they're live at the moment. And then there are things coming up. Look, we've dipped a toe in the AI space. We have a Vizzly AI where you can generate views through natural language. I don't think that is the best application of AI at Vizzly. I think the best application of AI, and this is something that we're yet to build that is upcoming, is more to do with the summation of insights on a dashboard, right? So not necessarily the generation of those views on the dashboard, but the summation of the insights, and then trying to translate that into something tangible and actionable. I think that's probably the most exciting component.
Definitely. And it will add more value to the end user as well. So yeah, makes sense.
Yeah, exactly. It's more to do with the end user as opposed to and as opposed to making that dashboard and the insights that come with it like genuinely useful. So it's not just it's not just another dashboard. It's what we're trying to get around. And also, you got to think about the number of ways people share data with customers, right? People don't just share data with customers through dashboards. Often it's through an API. And so Vizzly is a very powerful query engine, basically acts as a semantic layer, speaks to your database, you can model your data, has configurable built-in caching, a bunch of stuff that is incredibly valuable. And we get asked time and time again if our customers ask rather, if they can create API endpoints using this query engine from that database to share with their customers. And so that's something we want to do as well, just separating the query engine out from the front-end visualization layer and maybe offering that as a separate product as well. I think it'd be like a real kind of step change for a bunch of our customers and how they share data with their users.
Yeah. Right. Now, Matt, could you highlight any specific case study where Vizzly did wonders for any of your customer, something which is close to your heart? Would love to hear it.
Sorry, could you say that again, please, Harshit?
Any specific case study where Vizzly did wonders for your customer? Anything which is, I'm sure like you have tons of customers, but anything which is close to your heart where it has given some really good outcome. Would love to hear that story, please.
Yeah, sure. So we're actually just about to launch a case study with this health tech company. I won't name names. The health tech company does power the National Health Service here in the UK. And
you already pretty much said about the company by saying like national.
Come out soon. That's been really fun to work on. The guys, the fantastic to work with as well. And the reason why that has been really fun though is more to do with like the corners of the product in which they've touched. They've really engaged in custom reporting. Their customers, again, one of which is the NHS, but they have others who have really taken well to custom reporting and the degree of end user configuration. Even though they're not that data literate, they still really custom reporting experience because it's designed for those who maybe are data hungry but not data literate, and really making the most of that as well. And the developers at the company also have really engaged in all corners of our API and SDK. And so it's just great to see a customer like that really make the most of the full product. And obviously, like you spend so much time and energy building all these features, all these things, and customers will sometimes use aspects of the product, but not all the product. And so when you have a customer that comes along and really engages with everything, and in a way where they're super happy and delighted about the experience as well, like best feeling. So really enjoyed working with these guys so far, and a case study will hopefully come out at some point next week.
Brilliant. All right. Now I understand that with respect to your customer acquisition, LinkedIn has been fruitful. SEO, you understand, that's one of the focus area. What other channels have you seen for your competitors really working where you want to focus as well, maybe? Or maybe like they are not, but you still have that hope of taking that initiative altogether, marketing initiative altogether.
Yeah, so we're starting to invest, like I said, a bit more in like content and SEO. I think we're a small team. We don't have any salespeople, right? So what we want to do is build lean and efficient revenue in a way that scales well. And so content, organic, high intent inbound is what we're after. there are various ways to drive that. For us at the moment, SEO and social have been optimal. I think we'll invest a little bit more in Q3 this year. Q1 was a real turning point for us this year, and Q2 has consolidated that in terms of confidence around product market fit. Obviously, I'm not sitting here as a small startup claiming we have product market fit and we're ready to just like light the fire. But as we gain more confidence, we're happy investing more in go to market. And that's where the attitude is at the moment, and yeah, where we hope to go. Yeah, so I'd say obviously more content, moving up funnel and content. So it's not just like super low funnel. We'll also engage in retargeting as well. And we will also engage in low funnel Google search ads on the competitor pages, most likely. Very common practice, especially in the kind of industry we sit in at the moment. There's a lot of activity going on as well. We won't stop the sales automation. That works very well. And of course, I think the narrative that we have on LinkedIn and the narrative we have in social isn't very salesy. It's more to do with like product updates. And look how fast we're shipping. Look how much we're shipping. And the team, I've never worked with such a talented group of engineers. And the rate in which they ship, the velocity they push product is incredible. And I think we just need to continue to make people aware of that fact. And I think that does drive a lot of like inbound interest in the process as well.
Gotcha. All right. Now, what do you feel like? What aspect of your role do you find to be most rewarding?
There is, I think my favorite feeling, at least at the moment, is seeing like Vizzly dashboards in the wild. And I don't know, someone launches their reporting or analytics page or feature, and then you'll be scrolling LinkedIn and you'll see a Vizzly dashboard appear in the wild. I think that is awesome. It means that we signed them, they've had a great time, they're live, they're proud of what they built, and they've shared it. And sometimes I'm not even aware that they've shared it. Sometimes we'll just catch it entirely organically. And yeah, I find that incredibly rewarding because it just means so many things have gone right, so many things have gone well, and every party involved in the partnership is ultimately satisfied.
All right, we're coming to an end, and I would love to have a quick rapid fire with you. Are you ready for that?
Yeah, of course.
Okay. If you could use only one social media platform for the rest of your life, which would it be and why?
For social purposes or for work purposes?
For your personal social purposes.
Well, I guess, to be honest, for work, LinkedIn, I'm not massive on Twitter. LinkedIn is very much the one. For me, I like sharing updates about the product. I like sharing updates about the team. I like just sharing the journey, if you will. And I think some people appreciate that. Some people are on that journey with us, and it's rewarding in itself. And I think I'm not massively engaged on social media at a personal level beyond WhatsApp. Everyone who's close to me will have me on WhatsApp, and that is very much my kind of like social means of communication. So simple and vanilla, but there you go.
Okay. What's the most bizarre marketing tactic you have ever seen work successfully?
That is a horrible question. Wow. And stuff with B2C companies and consumer tech, as far as these kind of like growth hacks go and things like that. Maybe like Uber, for example, paying drivers to take rides to try and stimulate supply, because in marketplaces where you start supply demand, maybe there's not a right answer to that all the time, but Uber obviously trying to stimulate supply first by artificially doing so, paying drivers, something along those lines. I think it's quite cool. I find marketplace dynamics really interesting, especially with that whole supply and demand question. So I'd probably go with that as an easy answer. But yeah, that is a tough question, especially the B2B context.
Yeah. What's the weirdest place you have ever come up with a brilliant idea?
The weirdest place, like geographically.
Could be anything. Could be like your bathroom. That's it.
Yeah. Again, like hard question. I will say though that even though I maybe can't answer that question directly, I do think like experience and exposure is so important to just like opening how you think. And so I was pretty fortunate growing up as a young adult to have various experiences working in different countries for different companies, different scales. Very first company I worked for was a small startup out in New Zealand, in Auckland. We did served software to sports coaches to do like booking, scheduling, and payment. incredible experience. So then I moved on to a larger company. And I think just constantly exposing yourself as a young adult to various different things will really invoke the mind and imagination. At that period in your life, you should absolutely not stay stagnant. I think, even though, again, not a direct answer, but that would be my response to that question.
Okay. What habit holds you back the most?
Sorry, say that again.
What habit holds you back the most?
Very good question.
I can answer that on your behalf. Overthinking.
Yeah, as you can tell, I'm definitely a thinker. Yeah, I do overthink, but I think something that we're pretty good at Vizzly is like biasing towards action. So I think even in a state of overthinking, just do something, just do it. Even if you're not sure, just do it. And so you'll learn. I think a movement creates information, creates data, creates learning. Yeah, I am an overthinker. I do have to force myself to action, but I think like deep down, I know that biasing towards action 9 times out of 10 is the right thing to do, even if it's uncomfortable or maybe not, doesn't result in the right answer or decision in the short term.
No, that's wise. I agree. Okay, now coming to my very last question. What's your last Google search or your maybe like last prompt on any of the Gen AI?
Yeah, that's a good one. Let's go with Gen AI. So I am incredibly boring with my use of GPT. We offer grammar, punctuation, sentence structure, all that sort of stuff. But to the point where like we recently hand wrote a case study for a new customer, different case study to what I mentioned previously, by the way. Anyway, hand wrote this case study, passed it through GPT to help me with punctuation, grammar, sentence structure. And the customer ran it through like an AI checker to see how much of this case study was written by AI versus us. And it returned 79% of the case study was written by AI, which is obviously just massively ironic considering that we wrote it all by hand, but just passed it through GPT for help on basic stuff. Well, that kind of made me laugh a little bit, but no, me personally, incredibly boring with my use of GPT. I have tried it in the past for doing things like creating synthetic data sets to demo Vizzly. I think that's quite cool. Like you maybe feed it like a record of data we sometimes demo this data sets like payments, health, for example. And so maybe you create one record of data and you go, I want you to replicate this 1,000 times or however many times to create a decently sized data set that we then feed into the Vizzly dashboard for them and demonstrative purposes. That's quite fun. And obviously I wouldn't claim to be technical. I do hack around sometimes Python, and I have tried to stitch together a few kind of short scripts that I've generated from GPT just for a bit of fun to see how it does. And it obviously is incredibly impressive. It is unbelievable with how it handles unstructured data, especially.
And the point that you mentioned about AI detection, these tools are getting smarter, man. I remember like few years prior to the current situation, really, in fact, you rephrase a little bit of the GPT version and you pass through the AI detection tools, test altogether. But now, in fact, if you have used, say, basic software, say, Grammarly, just to rectify your piece of blog, they also get flagged in AI detection tools, which is crazy, to be honest. So yeah, I think when you're bound to make those punctuation mistakes and grammatical issues now, just to come off clean and genuine human written content altogether. Yeah. Because I think one of the good thing is, in fact, Google puts in a lot of emphasis now. You can't have the AI content as it is on your website. It has to be human generated. Plus, you need to have that unique take, compared to the other content around the same topic, basically on the web. So yeah, that again helps with that human touch. So
exactly.
I really appreciate your time here, sharing your experiences about Vizzly, your wisdom, and thank you so much for taking the time out for this. Appreciate it.
Well, thank you for the invite once more.